What's going on, CK Nation? It's your boy, the Boss Man CK, and on today's episode of Throttle School, we're going to talk about one of the most important pieces of equipment a driver can have on a brutally hot race day. We're going to talk about the cool shirt. Now, if you ever watched a NASCAR race in the middle of the summer, you probably heard the announcers say something like Driver X is having a cool suit issue or his cooling system failed. And if you're sitting at home thinking, wait, they wear air conditioning under their race suit? No, not exactly. But they do wear something pretty close. So today we're going to break down what the cool shirt is, how it works in the race car, why it matters so much, and what happens when it fails, and why something this simple can make a huge difference in performance. Because we're all gas, no brakes, full throttle for Kyle, and we're going to learn, observe, and root for our drivers on Sundays. Alright, so the cool shirt, or the cooling shirt as they call it, is basically a driver cooling garment worn underneath the fire suit. At first glance, it looks like a tight-fitting undershirt or vest. But stitched into the shirt are small tubes that circulate cold water around the driver's torso. Think of it like this. You're wearing a radiator for the human body. The shirt itself sits right against the driver's skin. Then the hoses from the shirt connect to a cooling system mounted inside the race car. That system pumps chilled water through the tubing in the shirt, which helps pull heat away from the driver's body. So no, it's not blowing cold air like an AC would in your regular street car. It's actually a liquid cooling system in a NASCAR cockpit that can be a game changer. See, people don't realize just how hot these race cars can get and why these are important. A NASCAR cockpit can climb up to well over 100 degrees, and in some conditions it can feel much worse than that because the driver is trapped in a fire suit, gloves, helmet, head sock, and seat belts, and are with very limited airflow. Add an engine heat, exhaust heat, the greenhouse effect from the body of the car, and the physical efforts of wrestling the car around for anywhere from 3 to 4 or even 500 laps at times. It becomes a serious heat management problem. Drivers just aren't a little uncomfortable in there. They're sweating heavily, losing fluids, fighting fatigue, and trying to stay mentally sharp while making split-second decisions at nearly 200 miles an hour. That's where the cool shirt comes in. The goal isn't to make the driver feel like they're sitting in a recliner with air conditioning on. The goal is to keep the core temperature under control, reduce the stress, and help the driver stay focused deeper into the race. Because once the driver starts overheating, everything gets harder. Concentration drops, reaction time slow, muscle fatigue comes faster, and mistakes become more likely. In racing, a small drop in focus can be the difference between hitting your marks and going to victory lane and slamming the wall. So, let's walk through the full system. First, the driver puts on the cooling shirt underneath the fire suit. That shirt has a network of thin tubing sewn into it, usually across the chest, back, and torso area where it can do that most good. Then the shirt connects to a cooling unit in the race car using quick disconnected hoses. Inside the car, the cooling unit usually includes a small reservoir or cooler. Sometimes it could be a plastic like jug that we drink water out of. They've made that out of it before. Teams will then fill it up with water and ice or another chill coolant setup. And then a pump that circulates the cold liquid through the shirt, which allows it to go from that container up through the tubes into the shirt. Here's the basic cycle of it. Step 1, the cooler in the car holds cold water. Step 2, the pump pushes the cold water through the hose. Step 3, the water flow through the tubing in the driver's shirt. Step 4, the cooling water absorbs the body heat from the driver. And step 5, the warm water returns to the cooler and the cycle repeats. That's a simple concept, but it's incredibly effective. Some systems are basically insulated ice chests with a pump. Others are more advanced and built specifically for professional racing applications. But the mission is always the same: move the heat away from the driver's body so they can keep performing. Here's the science part without getting in too deep into the weeds. Water is really good at carrying heat away. In fact, circulating cool water against the body transfers heat much more effectively than just trying to blow little air around inside the cockpit. And that matters because the NASCAR driver is producing a lot of body heat during the race. Their heart rate is up, their muscles are working, and the environment around them is already roasting hot. The cool shirt gives that somewhere to go. It basically helping the driver's body offload heat faster than it could on its own. That means less heat buildup, less exhaustion, less chance of overheating, and better chance of staying physically and mentally sharp all race long. From the driver's perspective, when a cool shirt is working properly, it can feel like cold water lines running across your chest and back. Almost like having an ice pack built into your shirt, except it's circulating constantly, continuously. The cooling sensation can be a huge relief, especially on a long green flag run when the cockpit temperatures are climbing and there's nowhere to escape that heat. Drivers often talk about how much fresher they feel after a race when the cooling system works correctly. It can help them recover better, think clearer, and simply survive those brutal summer races with a lot of suffering. And yes, in a sport where toughness is part of the culture, Stephen A., there are definitely drivers who will grit their teeth and deal with the heat. But if there's a piece of equipment that helps you stay sharper and stronger for 300 to 400 or 500 miles, that's not a luxury, that's a performance. Now, as you saw last week at Sonoma, when it failed on Ryan Blaney, what happens when it fails? Now, that's where it gets ugly. If the cooling shirt fails during the race, the driver notices it fast. Maybe the pump quits working, maybe the connection hose comes loose, maybe the system stops circulating, whatever the cause, the cooling goes away. And now the driver is suddenly wearing a shirt full of tubing in a race car that feels like an oven. And depending on the system, the water in the lines can stop being refreshing and start getting warm or even hotter. That's when you hear radio chatter about a driver burning up, feeling sick, cramping, struggling physically. If the heat gets bad enough, it can completely change the outcome of a race. A driver may have to back off, hydrate more aggressively, or even survive the finish. So, when you hear someone's cool suit failed, that's a minor comfort issue. That's not a minor comfort issue, my bad. That can become a real performance and a safety problem in a hurry. As we saw last week for Ryan Blaney, after the race was over, he had to go to Infield Care Center because his cooling suit stopped like 3 or 4 laps into the race at Sonoma. And it's already hot out there, and like it's already 200 degrees in the car. His cooling suit failed. Unfortunately, he had to run the rest of the 110 laps. Then he got out of the car, went to Infield Care Center for IVs because he was extremely dehydrated, possibly had heat exhaustion. This is one of those pieces of racing technology that doesn't get much attention unless something goes wrong. But it tells you a lot about modern motorsports. People look at NASCAR and think about horsepower, tire, suspension, aerodynamics, and pit strategy, and all of that matters. But the driver is still a human being strapped inside the machine. If the cockpit is brutally hot and the driver is physically cooked by lap 250, that affects lap times, decision making, and consistency. So keeping the driver cool isn't just about comfort, it's part of keeping the whole operation performing at the highest level. A cool shirt helps a driver stay more comfortable, manage body temperature, reduce fatigue, and maintain concentration. So, the next time you hear someone mention a NASCAR driver's cool shirt or cool suit, here's what you need to know. It's a cooling garment worn under the fire suit. It has small tubes sewn into it. Cold water is pumped through the tubes from a cooling unit mounted in the race car. That circulate water helps pull the heat away from the driver's body in an environment that can be dangerously hot. It's not a gimmick. It's not just for comfort. It's a legit performance and heat management tool used to help the driver stay sharp when the race car turns into a furnace. And in motorsports, the smallest details can make the hugest difference. So, with that being said, that's another episode of Throttle School. And if you ever wondered how drivers survive those scorching summer races, now you know. And sometimes a hero is a shirt full of ice wearing too. Alright? So, with that being said, class is now over. We're always no gas, or we're always all gas, no brakes. I don't know why I said no brakes. All gas, no brakes, full throttle for Kyle. And we just learned, got smarter, and we figured it out. And now we're gonna use these expertise to watch our guys win on Sunday. And I'll see y'all for the next class of Throttle School.